Welcome back. Today we're going to take a look at KBEAR's Limpid Pro cable. And for those who haven't been following cables, KBEAR announced this Limpid cable, which is actually this one. This is their pure silver. It is 4 cores, 10 strands, so about 40 strands of pure silver. It's a very nice cable. It was something new in this price range, and sort of an under $20 pure silver cable back around maybe late summer, early fall. It came out. I picked it up then, and I used it for a bunch of reviews around that time period as well. So back in 11/11, the Limpid Pro came out, which is 8 cores with 10 strands, so 80 strands of pure silver as well. So it's simply more of the same. Same pure silver. The connectors are actually the same, and we'll get to that in a second. But first, I do want to thank the KBEAR official store on AliExpress for sending this one out to me. If you look today, it's about $32, $33. If you look back in December, it went down to about $28. So those kind of give you some benchmarks of prices to look for when you're shopping for this one. So as I mentioned with Believe, KBEAR also has a partnership with a Better Audio store on Amazon, so you can find this cable on Amazon as well. And my cable technically came from Amazon because I'm in the US, and it was a convenience to get it from Amazon. So if you look in the Better Audio store, they have this 8-core silver cable, about $69, and I said, is that the real price? And they said yes, and I left it at that. So do with that as you will. So measurements we'll get to in a second. So as I said, this is what the original Limpid looked like, and it's 4 cores, 10 strands, 40 strands of pure silver, nice heavyweight connectors, chin slider. This chin slider tends to be on the looser side, so that was one complaint. The other complaint was it's just a bit thin, and it's kind of hard to see it when it's bound up like this, but it's on the thinner side. It's a 4 core, it's a bit thin. So when we look at the Limpid Pro, this is now essentially double the number of strands. And let me see if we can get a standard piece to kind of a side-by-side of what they look like. And so here we go. That is more like it. So this is the regular Limpid on the left side. This is the 8 cores on the right side. And you can kind of see it's literally almost a double size. And so part of it is there's more strands, but part of it is you just have a little more plastic material as well. So it feels just a little stiffer. It's a little ropier because it has more substance to it. But connector-wise, it's exactly the same. It's the same. So it is the same chin slider as I mentioned. Let me see if I can grab this. So side by side you can see that chin sliders are exactly the same, but this chin slider is actually difficult to move. It doesn't so much slide for me, and maybe this is just mine, but it's really hard to actually work it up the cable. So what happens on this one is the holes are a bit small and the braid is a little loose down here, so it tends to get a little more bound up inside of these little holes, which maybe need to be a little bigger. So as I said, the Limpid Pro is pretty much exactly the same as the Limpid, just more cores. So 8 cores instead of 4 cores. Material is still pure silver. Connectors are still the same. Probably weighs a little bit more, a little stiffer, but it's not all that stiff anyway. It's quite flexible. Not as flexible as the Rhyme, but getting there. So for me, I've been using the Limpid for a while. I used the Limpid Pro on the KBEAR Believe review. It was the cable that I needed on the Believe because I needed a 2.5 millimeter cable as well for a balanced output. So for me, if you're a cable believer and you believe that certain cables have certain sounds, the silver for me tends to work on the midsection of sound. It gives you just a little more emphasis. Things kind of come to life just a little bit. it doesn't touch the bass and it doesn't necessarily touch the treble as much as it just gives you a little lift right in the midsection. And why I like these is because it doesn't touch the bass as much as something like the Rhyme, which is more about adding something to the lower end. Or if there's a peak, maybe in your upper mids or in the treble range, kind of a sharp point, I tend to grab a copper just to see if it will smooth out that little rough patch. But generally that's kind of talk for cable believers. If you're just looking at it for fashion, you'll look at it and say, well, the 4-core is just a bit thin. This one feels like any other 8-core. It just happens to be pure silver, and it's very nice. So both sides, if you're a believer or non-believer, there's kind of reasons to go with the Limpid Pro over the Limpid, just because it's reminiscent of normal 8-core cables as well. So the other 8-core that's familiar, this is the TRI through, and the through is a silver plated copper as opposed to pure silver, so it just has a silver coating. And the braid itself is similar but a looser, kind of a longer braid. So you can see that this is the Limpid Pro. It's almost 2 braids per one, so just a little tighter braid. Again, the through is yet another really nice cable that's popular these days, but this is sort of why I started doing cables and reviews in the first place, is because I was buying cables, but it's really hard to find reviews or videos that really showed what these upgrade cables look like. So whether you're a believer, non-believer, I think it's valuable to have a nice, better look than AliExpress pictures or snapshots that you might find in forums of cables. So that was why I really started, not so much that I was looking for a monster improvement in sound, as opposed to I really liked the look of it, the fit, and a lot of the sonic issues with cables kind of came later. But I really just wanted a way to show people what these cables that people talk about look like in real life on video. So, and the third, this is the KBEAR Rhyme. So this is a UPO-CC cable. This is copper with there's sort of a mixed braid of copper and silver-plated copper-ish. I'm not sure what the silver one, I think, had a name. I forgot what it was called, but it's probably silver-plated copper strands. So again, very nice looking 8-core and a very similar braid to the Limpid Pro. If we get them side by side, you can kind of see that it's basically the same braid, just different material. So very nice. So for those of you who are into measurements, I did take the resistance values of Limpid Pro, and Rhyme. So you can see the Limpid, it's about 0.5. My multimeter has an internal resistance of about 0.1. So I look at these relatively, but if you want absolute numbers, then knock off 0.1 from each of these. So Limpid's about 0.5. Limpid Pro dropped to 0.3. So I guess the theory is more cores, more flow. I don't really know. I don't read too much into the numbers, but I was curious enough to buy a multimeter and take measurements. And then the Rhyme is about 0.27, so it's different material, but had the multimeter out and I wanted to throw a number out there anyway. So that's about it. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time.